Showtime!
I'm here with Sheila and Jon, and we're going to just talk a little bit today about the new band they've got started, and that is Rock and Roll Revival. I had mentioned yesterday about Rock and Roll Revolution, and that is not correct.
We are a revolution, so it can be whatever we decide it is
That's
at that moment.
Rock and Roll Revival.
Oh,
how did you get things started with Rock and Roll Revival? How did it come about?
I've been around music my whole life, and my initial passion was music business management. So I obviously didn't take that path in my life. And in the midst of my career now, my 28-year career, I turned 50 years old. I hate to say that out loud. I'm now 51. I hate to say that out loud even more. But hey, we're all living our youthful days more
That's
healthy
right.
now.
You're still so youthful, Sheila. I don't
Yeah.
even think of you as being 50. I didn't even realize that.
Well,
I'll be 58 this year.
it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors. Anybody can be a rock star.
Right.
No.
It's never too late for your
Right.
dreams.
It's
right?
not, and that's the whole point. So when I turned 50, I had been doing some healing work, and I decided that I was going to delve deep down into my inner child and do all the things that I've wanted to do that I can feasibly make possible. And I went and bought my very first drum kit that I've ever had in my entire life, because I never played drums, and that wasn't something that was going to be allowed to be in my home and things like that. So I bought a drum kit. I reskinned it in pink fur, and I said, I'm going to learn how to play drums. And 3 weeks later, I had a band. It was the craziest thing ever. That imploded, and after going into the recording studio several times and just some differences in the band, it imploded. And I called the one person that's somehow always been there no matter what, no matter how crazy it is, any of it. And he came and started to help me with a song that I was working on through my healing journey called Peace, Love, Rock and Roll. And through that, we started doing some healing together, and we decided we were going to start writing some music. And from writing the music together, we started a band. I guess I started a band, and Jon said, okay, another band. Yeah.
So how long have you been playing music, Jon?
I've been playing guitar since 1980, so I'd say probably 45 years. But music has played me, is how I look at it, because from the time I was 7 years old, I was always listening to the radio, listening to the record player. And even now, music plays me. I'm just a conduit. I
like that.
Yeah, well, I am. And I think that's how it is with any kind of art form, the energy is out there, and you just have to make yourself available to let it come through you, and get out of the way when it does. Just let it do its thing. And so that's what I try to do. And like I said, I've been playing guitar 45 years, and it's been a big, long journey. It's not just about putting fingers on the strings and learning chords and notes. It's you can take it as far as you want to take it. Songwriting being one of the facets of that. Not everybody that plays an instrument writes songs.
Right.
Recording, producing. Knowing the technology, the techno speak. Of that kind of stuff. That's part of my journey also. And then I started singing also about, I don't know, maybe a dozen years ago or so, maybe longer than that, but live, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I started singing lead vocals. Not just the backup singer, but the lead vocalist. So I do that as well. So, none of my none of this, the guitar or the vocals, I've been taught formally. It's all self-taught, all of it. and I'm sure it shows in some aspects, but it's something that I think when you are self-taught, you tend to be more, I don't know, original, but more you have your own thing, and so I kind of take pride in that. It's like I've had a lot of people along the way, and too many to name, but I'm thankful to them for helping me out and for being supportive. But I've also done a lot of it myself, to where it's like, how do I do this? I don't really know anybody that does this, so how am I going to figure it out? Well, we were talking a while ago, YouTube. You go to YouTube, figure it out. Right, but before YouTube, I would ask people, and what I couldn't find out, I would just jump in, sink or swim, and figure it out on my own. And so yeah, it's been a long journey, and it's been a fantastic journey. Got to play with some really, really great people. Got to play at some really, really great places.
He's very humble, but you're sitting beside amidst a real rock star over here.
I mean, it's like, whatever. It's like, for instance, I got to record at Sunset Sound, and I got to play on the stage of the Whiskey A Go-Go twice.
Wow!
And these are
back when it mattered.
Yeah, well,
not that it doesn't matter now.
For instance, Sunset Sound. Not only did Van Halen do all their first 5 albums there, but you have Led Zeppelin, you have The Doors, you have Fleetwood Mac, you have all these bands that have come in there, and I was there. I recorded at Electric Lady Studios in New York City, which is Jimi Hendrix's studio. And everybody's been there, So I mean, it's like the only thing I wish was different. Well, I wish that it's a double-edged sword, because if they were available back then, I'd probably be in prison. But I wish that I wish camera phones were available back when I was at these places, because I had the photographic and video evidence, not so much evidence, just the mementos to look back on it and to reflect on it. Yeah, and it's like I don't have it's just all up here, But it's it was really cool, and like I said, it's been a long journey, and.
So this is all coming together now, and it's part of a healing journey, you said.
It is.
And part of the healing journey, a lot of times getting stuff out, like writing music. So how have you felt writing the music?
That is the most cathartic release. And I've been writing since I was a kid. I just never shared it with anybody. Because much like lots of things in my life, I never felt like I was good enough. We spend so much time comparing and listening to what other people have to say, and self-sabotaging ourselves, that we stunt our own creativity trying to be like other people.
Right.
And that's been my whole entire life. Even if I haven't tried to be just like somebody else, I have definitely just morphed into many ideas of who I am, not knowing who I am. I don't know if that really makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
So...
How do you get over stage fright? I'm sure you don't have it anymore.
Drink? No.
Really? You don't even hardly drink.
So in fighting for martial arts
Mm-hmm.
and UFC type stuff,
Yeah, what do you do?
in the ring, that's something that, like, I train and coach people that your first few fights are going to be full of all of your adrenaline.
Right.
And it wears you out.
You'll be wore out in no time.
And so all of a sudden, like, you get in the ring and you start to fight, and it's like,
yeah.
like your punches are not there. And you have to really have ring experience. And so I'm just curious, like, do you have to have stage experience before some of the jitters go away?
Yes, I think so. I think a lot of it is, it's putting yourself in a frame of mind that the audience isn't there. So, like, the way you fight in the dojo compared to the way you fight in the ring when there's an audience watching is it has the potential to be different. But if you go out there and fight and the audience is not there, and that's part of it. You block, and it's just you and your opponent, and everything else doesn't matter. Then all of a sudden you're back in the dojo again. So it's like, it takes it takes a lot, I guess. It's probably different with everybody, but it takes some mental preparation to put yourself in that spot, to where when you go on stage, it's just you and the band. And whether it's 10,000 people or 1,000 or 100, it doesn't make any difference. And that's what you work towards, because if you're thinking about the crowd and you're thinking about everything that can go wrong, which is my problem, I'm not worried about not being able to play or freezing up or forgetting something. I'm worried about, oh my God, am I going to break a string? Oh my God, is the guitar chord going to short out? Oh my God, so the only way you can really get around that is have some peace of mind, knowing that you have some redundancy. I have a spare cable. I have a spare guitar. And at that point, you just got to let it go, because I've done all I can do to prepare myself and my equipment, everything that goes along with it, prepare all that. Then it's just, you pray, and you just do a little prayer before you go on and say, please let me get through this without showing my ass.
Well, speaking of ass, there's my biggest problem is worrying about what my ass looks like on stage. It's very different experience for everybody. I don't worry so much. Of course, the other thing is also I have never, ever, ever sat behind this drum kit on a stage. I've emceed things. I've taught dance fitness. I've done all those things, but I've never sat behind a drum kit. So my booty is one of the things that's not even really going to be seen back there. So I won't have to worry about that. I don't know. I can't speak how I'll feel about that, but I think that I just worry, and I'm just being honest, more about who's going to take pictures and what angle am I going to be on. And you know what I'm saying? All those, I don't know, the women things that we all worry about. I wish that we could be more like this sometimes. I feel like men don't obsess over those things,
It's the different things that they obsess over. And, it's when I teach at the studio and we're going, for a tournament, the thing I teach them, fear and how do we overcome fear. And fear is feeling unprepared.
Right.
And I think when you've practiced enough and you've experienced enough, because that's the second part of it we were just talking about. If you go on stage, but it's your first time on stage, you still have a few things to work out. But the more stage experience you have, you feel like you know what's going to happen.
The anxiety lessens.
I feel like I'm going to have a big giant bucket next to me. I'm either going to have to sit over it or lean over it. One of the two. It's going to happen the first time.
But you get through it. I think anytime that we are working to achieve our dreams and goals, we have to get past a certain amount of fear. It just comes up for all of us.
And what is fear? Fear is the unknown.
It's a liar. Fear is a liar.
That's right. And you have to go through those experiences in order to get to that place where you lessen the anxiety.
Right.
And you get more comfortable and you move forward.
Well, and there's two things fear is also. Fear is a warning for us, but it is also a thing that completely stops us in our tracks from things that are so relevant for our life that we need to push through.
Yeah, fear is crippling.
Yeah.
Right, too, because like you just said, it is part of something that's very good, because fight or flight, that's where some of your fear comes from. If you got a big bear, chasing after you, you need to get moving. That's a real reason to have fear. But we also have fear that's only in our minds.
Irrational.
And it's irrational fear. And we have to learn how to overcome that in order to achieve our dreams.
For sure. And, speaking of fight or flight, I've lived in that my entire life. And, fear in everything. But at the same time, the people that know me have also watched me push through every single thing.
Well, you get
adversity.
like push through muscles.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
anytime you're lifting a weight
Mhm.
and you're like gaining muscle,
Right.
but you have that push through muscle.
I feel
you
like
know,
I just
you-
live a giant duality all the time. I'm a giant contradiction of myself, you know?
I would say that a lot of us are. And speaking to an audience that wants to achieve their dreams and their, because it's a big thing to start a band. You know, a lot of different people have different, like to start a business, and you have your own business, and like certain goals that we all want to achieve. And to me, I think a lot of times in like social media today, it looks like one and done, like, you
Right.
know, zip, zip, and, you know, it's so easy, but it's not so easy.
Right.
And a lot of times you actually work another job.
Mhm.
You work another job. I do a job on the side, and I'm always like trying to work in my entrepreneurship as well as do the full-time teaching that I do, and it gets to be a lot. How do you overcome those things, Sheila?
I would probably just say that I roll with my manic phases and I rest in the times when I'm not. I don't know. I really don't know. Sometimes I look back and I go, how did you just do that?
Put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's like you can either sit down and just let life go by and just sit there and wish you would have done this or done that, or you can try to make it happen and overcome all the things that come with that. I mean, let's talk about experience here. We have a 40-year musician that's toured nationally and been on magazine covers and MTV music videos, and I'm a beginner drummer that hasn't even played a year. We're playing in a band together. Is he playing with me because I'm the greatest drummer in the world? No. But I bring things to the band that I don't bring drumming wise, and like I use those skills to make up for what I lack in, and that
Strengths and
would
weaknesses
probably
and how
be
they
the
balance out.
same way that I push through all that is I try to take the strengths and help it drag my weaknesses along until those become strengths, because I do think we can turn our weaknesses into strengths as well.
And how do
I
you
don't
get-
even know if that answered that question, but that, you know.
How do you get through the day to day? Because you work all day and then
Yeah,
you practice in the
I drink
evenings.
a lot. No, I don't. I don't drink at all, really. You know, I've been at my job for 25 years.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's a great job. When I first started, I played music the entire time. So there was never, ever a point of me having to choose between, in the long term, between my job or my music. There were times, and there still are times, when I can't do both at the same exact time, but I certainly try to. If I'm at work, I'm writing songs in my head sometimes. I've brought books to work and read, various things about, music production or music theory. When I first started, it was very conducive for me to have the other lifestyle of being a musician, because I was working days and I was only a part-time worker. So I wasn't there that long, and I could afford to play on the weekends, the nights, and it worked. I could keep my hair long. It wasn't the hair length wasn't an issue. And, over time, it's only gotten better. But there were some times in the beginning where it was very tough. For instance, there's a club called Phoenix Hill Tavern in Louisville, and they would have bands Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And
Some of the greatest times ever.
my band would play there on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I was also working during the days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I would literally get home from work, pack up, go to the club, set up, play, leave my gear there usually, come home, have to get up, go to work, and that for 3 nights in a row. I work outside, summertime, it's 90, 95, 100 degrees outside. That's tough. After the second night, I should say, of playing, knowing I have one more night to go, and here I am working. What would happen invariably was Sunday I would just crash out all day and just sleep and try to recover. But I did it. It's just, I never saw it as as me not being able to do it. I have to do it, so I'm going to do it. That's all.
When you work in your passion, I think that's when you have the extra.
You do.
Like it brings the extra out.
Right.
If you're trying to figure out how to make money and you're just doing something to make money,
Right.
you don't always have that extra.
No, you don't.
But when you're working from your heart,
That's
and
exactly
you're
it.
giving, and people can tell that too. It really comes into flow
Mhm.
when you're
The
working.
intent.
Yeah, right. When you're working from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to. My career is my passion, so like it's a creative conduit for me. That's the way that I'm able to express myself in my career as a hairstylist, and yeah, it's a lot like music, but in a different way.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You also have passion in music.
Right.
Or you wouldn't be able to practice like you do. Because
Right.
you guys get together and
Well,
you practice, right?
Yes, we do.
And is that like weekly or nightly or
A couple of days a week.
a
Yeah.
couple of days a week?
And then him and I write together outside of that also. So,
And that's very time consuming.
Yeah.
That
Well,
takes a lot.
like-
but most people are sitting around watching TV,
Exactly.
and
When you train-
we're chasing dreams.
Whatever you're doing, and you're chasing your passion or your dreams or whatever, the time becomes irrelevant. It's like when you train, if you're really into it, maybe not now that you're older, I don't know, but when you first got into it, when you trained, you would train probably for hours, and it would seem, I mean, aside from later on when you felt it, you could just keep going and going and going, and it wasn't because you had somebody behind you cracking a whip. It was because you loved what you were doing. And anytime you have a passion and you love something, time just becomes irrelevant. It's like I can sit down with the guitar and hours have gone past, and it's like I never would have known it. You know, you put me in a situation where it's not like that, and I'm looking at the watch. You know, it's like okay.
Do you ever dread going out on stage?
No, I never dread it. I always
You look forward to it.
I look forward to it. I always try to. I think about all the people that aren't on stage that want to be on stage, and I realize what a privilege it is to be able to do that and to get on stage, and hopefully command people's attention and just stay up there and to entertain for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and it's a privilege. It really is. It's something that there's 100 other guys that are ready to jump on there and take my spot if I fail or if I do poor job or whatever. So I got to always remember, it's like, what I'm doing is I'm blessed. I'm privileged. I'm honored to do it. That's not to say that I haven't had bad nights on stage, but I've always looked forward to going on stage.
I think you just miss having the roadies.
Yeah.
That's the part you don't like.
Yeah. It's,
The people to pack the gear up and load it and set it all up for you.
I've always said that I don't get paid to play music. I get paid to load my car up, I get paid to tear all my gear down, load it into my car, drive to the club, take it all out of the car, set it up. That's what I'm getting paid to do. Put strings on my guitar.
Right.
I don't get paid to play. If all that stuff was done for me, then you'd be paying the people that are doing that to do that. You wouldn't pay me anything.
No.
I do it because I love to do it. But, it is backbreaking, and it does take gas, and it takes strings, and blah, blah, blah. So
You make a half of a cent per show.
well, and unfortunately, that's how it's gone with all musicians, even recording artists. You don't get any royalties anymore for selling records. You don't sell records. You sell digital downloads, and you sell streaming. Sell your songs to streaming platforms and all that. But what Apple Music plays a penny on the song or something like that? It's ridiculous. I mean, it's back in the day you could make a living selling records, but not anymore. You got to have merch. You got to have your endorsements, whatever. It's really all about going viral and what comes along with that. It's not so much about selling records anymore. It really isn't, which is unfortunate, but just the way it is.
And talking about the push through, having to
So-
be on social media all the time,
Yeah.
and like making all the lives and the videos and the drawing attention to yourself because you have to, and everybody else thinking that you're that you just want the attention when you
Right.
have no choice in this
Right.
day and time of social media.
Right, that's so true.
I mean, one of the points that I'd like to make in the whole music thing and how we are playing together with 40 years experience versus 40 seconds of it is that we went back to the basics of rock and roll, back when rock and roll wasn't so complicated. And so my playing is basic, and I'm sure that, tell me if I'm right or wrong, but like they have to dumb themselves down a little bit for that with me, but it's still music. And it doesn't have to be some big giant shredding thing that's got a million notes or a million beats in it. I mean, look at AC/DC. They're one of the greatest bands in the world. At
Well,
least most,
And
they've
music
sold a
is
lot.
about frequency too, right?
Yes, everything vibrates at a frequency. Everything
Yeah.
has frequency. Everything does. You know, the more the science is looking into it, the more it's apparent that everything has a frequency. Even light, whether it's a particle or a wave, it's got a frequency. So that's it right there. I mean, what I was going to say was Dylan famously said that, you know, 3 chords and the truth. And that's really all you need as a songwriter. You know, I mean, even maybe 3 chords is pushing it. I mean, A Whole Lot of Love, Led Zeppelin, 2 chords. So I mean, some songs I can think of are 1 chord. So I mean, you don't really need a lot. You know, it's just more it's more colors on your palette to work with, and if you don't need them, I mean, you can
You
make
said
beautiful
3 chords and
and the truth.
3 chords and the truth.
Yeah.
That leads us into the two of you being together in a relationship before the band, right?
Yes.
So 3 chords and the truth is kind of what you're doing in the songwriting.
Yeah, that's
It's
exactly
like love
it.
ballads and a healing journey that touches on what relationships are all about,
Mhm.
and that is honoring one another and trust and friendship.
Well, we probably right now have been writing more about the toxic sides of them.
Because it's more fun. It's more fun.
It's more fun, and people can really identify with that. I
But
think.
but you know, I've always said that where our relationship failed us, our friendship has sustained us, and that shows in what we're writing. Nobody's perfect. Also, in our writing, for me, I had to take a step back on my side and look at all of my accountability in my parts of our relationship, because we can all go, your fault, and if you wouldn't have done this, and if this wouldn't have happened, and da 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 da. And then when you step back, if people could really open themselves up to their own accountability in things, then anything you can work through. And stepping away from somebody and stop trying to change them into somebody that fits your narrative. And allow them to be who they are, the things that you fell in love with them for. But you know, you get deeper in those relationships. That's where the true love really evolves, is by not the things you fell in love for necessarily.
How did y'all fall in love?
I'm gonna let you take this one. It's
I mean, that's a tough question. I think love is something that is built. Love is a process of shared experiences and empathy and honesty, openness that you can't get with someone right from the very beginning. It's something that you have to build over time.
and that's what I was gonna say. I'm not so sure we fell in love.
You grew in
I
love.
think the real love begins in the friendship and the acceptance of one another and allowing one another to work on themselves and grow in their timing.
And you can't fall out of love if you've never fallen into love, right?
That makes
So
sense.
Right.
if you grow in love, in friendship,
Mm-hmm.
then that friendship is still there. It may look
Right.
different in a romantic aspect, but the friendship and the love is still there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's rare, I think.
Yeah.
I think true love is rare in and of itself. I think love is a very overused word, just like hate. But to be able to have that loving friendship that can turn into something more, a relationship, a love, and that's and still be friends. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that love each other but aren't really friends. You know, I mean, if it makes any sense.
It absolutely makes sense.
They
Acceptance.
love each other, but they don't like each other.
Yeah.
But that's part of acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you accept a person for where they're at
Mm-hmm.
on their journey.
Right.
Allowing them to
doesn't-
grow.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that you accept poor behavior,
Right.
right?
Right.
And you hold them accountable to a better behavior, but you accept them right where they're at.
And I
on
think
their
that
journey.
we have to do that with all of our friends also.
Well, because we're all
Well,
grown.
when I was like 4 years old, my mom had a scholarship to Vanderbilt University for piano. She was a pianist, and
So music is in your family.
yes, and so when we lived in Lexington, here, when I was that old, and we had
How did I never find you then?
because you weren't born. 'Cause you weren't
Well,
born.
that's true. I forget.
So my dad would go off to school at UK, and my mom would be at home, and she'd raise me. So she had her piano, and she had quit school at Vanderbilt, moved to Lexington. Dad was going to school at UK, and during the daytime, there's nothing to do but watch soap operas or whatever. There's nothing for her to do, so she would get out her piano studies, her Chopin or whatever she did, and put the music out on the piano, and sit down at the bench and would go through her stuff. And me being a 4-year-old kid, I was always getting into stuff. I'd run around the house. So in order to make me mind and to watch me, she would put me on the bench next to her, sit me down on the bench while she played. Well, being once again a 4-year-old kid wanting to get into stuff, I started plunking away on the piano while she's trying to play. And she would say, "No, don't do that," and I'd be like, get my feelings hurt and have to sit there. Well,
We're getting a bench for band practice.
I just couldn't sit there while she did that. So what happened was, as she played these songs, because she has to use sheet music to play, a lot of classical people that are trained like that do. She would play the same arrangements, songs over and over again. So as weeks went by, and I had to sit on that bench next to her, and I couldn't run around, I began to memorize these songs. And I knew what keys would work on the piano, so she'd be playing something, and I would either harmonize or accompany her or play the part that she's about to play for her. And so little did I know, all that time I was training my ear to have pitch.
Right.
So later on, fast forward 10 years and I'm 14, or maybe even less than that, 10 years old, I got really into music, and I would record it. I had a little Philips cassette recorder, and I would record TV jingles or songs on the radio, and I thought it was the neatest thing in the world because I could record this stuff. I didn't know later on that I'd be getting into recording. I wasn't even a musician yet. But when I did finally pick up the guitar, I took lessons for a month, and then I taught myself how to play a song. And I went into my teacher and I said, "Hey, he said, what do you want to learn today?" I said, "Well, I think I'll learn a song on my own. I think I picked." "Oh, really? Let's hear it." And I started playing Iron Man by Black Sabbath, and I played it right, and I figured it all out on my own. And he was like, "Well, if you can do that, I can't show you anymore because you can figure out whatever on your own now. Go to this guy." Gave me this other guy's card, and I went one time and never went back. I wish I would have stayed because he was a jazz into jazz a lot, and I that's one area that I'm pretty much ignorant on is jazz. I can listen to it, but I can't play it. But yeah, so I mean, it was like I cultivated that ear at a young age, and I think when you're young and your brain is much more plastic or elastic, or whatever, you soak up things, and it's like that's the formative years when we all learn to speak and we learn to interact, and if you have music or whatever, art, painting, whatever, for a child at that age, by all means, they should, if they show an aptitude for it, encourage them,
Right, absolutely.
So it's a great thing, and it's like you're never too old to learn, but it's a
No,
lot
you're
easier
not.
when you're younger,
Yes,
it's a lot
it
easier.
is.
It's a lot easier when you're younger, but like you said, it's never, you're never too old.
No. If you have a
Yeah.
passion for it and you want to do it, people ask me sometimes. They're like, "Well, I want to learn to play guitar," and they have a family and they have a job, and I'm like, "Well, when I started playing, I played all the time. I didn't have any responsibilities. Take the trash out, cut the grass, and do my homework. When I didn't do any homework, So I mean, it was so that was forget that, So I had a lot of time. And
Your homework was learning how to play your guitar.
Yeah. If I had, I mean, that's how it was. I mean, I would literally, I had my guitar. The timers and the lights that you set, like for like when you go to town or like if you're growing something or whatever. Those light timers, right? I would have my guitar on a stand next to my amplifier in my bedroom, plugged up with the amp on and the volume on the guitar turned up, and I would plug my amplifier into one of those timers, and I had that for my alarm clock. So 7 a.m. rolls around, the amp comes on, the guitar starts feeding back, woo, and it wakes me up, and that was my alarm clock. And I'd go to school, I get home in the afternoon, I get home at 2:30, 2 o'clock. From then until 12 midnight, I practice.
And he still does that after work.
I don't, not like I used to. I don't.
Well, I guess I wouldn't know that now.
There's a
but-
difference in noodling and practicing. I noodle a lot and play a lot, but I'm not really practicing towards something. I
But
do
you come
sometimes.
home and go straight to your guitar.
Right, I do that. Yes.
Yeah. Or go home, not come home.
It's solace. It's like my sanctuary.
Right.
It's like the time thing. Start playing guitar. Next thing I know, hours have gone past. Unfortunately.
And I
So-
never understood that. Like going back to the whole relationship thing, when we were in a relationship like that, I mean, obviously we're in a relationship, but I mean, like when we were in that kind of relationship, like, I would be so frustrated sometimes. Like, I know what it's like to love something, but like, I would be like, hey, and he'd be like, I'll be up in an hour. And then just 5 more minutes, and 5 minutes to him is like an hour and a half. And it's like, and I never understood that until I started playing drums. Next thing you know, I at my shop, because that's where everything's set up at. And so if I practice after work by myself, like before I know it, it's midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been done at work at 6:30, and I'm like, and it's 12 o'clock. And then my brain's like all wide awake when I get home and I can't go to sleep. You see what I'm saying? So like,
You get it now.
yeah, like, I mean, I do with that part of it. I know you can get lost in things. I've gotten lost in many things in my life, but I guess now I understand fully how lost you can get into music and how many places it can take you just in each time that you do it,
Right. If I could ask one last question as we end, I'd like to know, what does writing music mean to you? What does writing music mean to you?
It's a catharsis for me. There's so much stuff that I've gone through or witnessed or whatever, just as a spectator and as a participant. So music is a way for me to process the things that I've gone through and to get it out, so to speak. Just to and maybe there's a message in it. I don't know. I don't really think about it like that. There's so many different facets to music. Why do musicians write? Why does anybody do anything? I mean, I think part of it is you feel you have to. Part of it is, I don't know. It's one thing I don't really question it too much. It's like where does it come from? I don't know. are there songs just floating around waiting for somebody to pick them out of the ether? I don't know. I know that there's people that are very young that write great songs. There's people that are old that write great songs. So I don't know if it's necessarily what you experience in your time on Earth. I mean, you have to draw it from somewhere. So I just don't know. I think a lot of it is there's a force inside of you that compels you to do something, and you have to follow through with it and get it out. And sometimes you don't even know what you do until later on. You look back on it, and it's a perspective kind of thing. You know, it's like what makes something great. What makes a song great? I don't know. Did
Just the fact that you do it.
Did Led Zeppelin know that this was going to be a great song 50 years later? Probably not. I don't know. I think it's something that people can hear and find some kind of resonance. It resonates within them.
Connection.
Yes, it's a connection. It's got to be a connection there.
They can identify with it, and I think that's what makes the songs that you guys are writing so good,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody goes through the ups and downs of life, and the connection is, I've been where you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm on the other side.
Yes. And lots of music is like that.
What does music and writing music do for you? How are you connecting? Are you connecting with people?
I'm connecting with myself, for sure. Music for me does have a message, though. I identify with lyrics. I mean, I totally fall into the whole, symphony of the music, too. But, like, when I can identify with the lyrics in a song, it's very healing. Even if it's a really sad song that you think wouldn't heal you, just the tears that you get out through it are healing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, music for me is healing and message. I heal through music, and I want to take that healing and give a message. It's raw, authentic truth.
I think the raw, authentic truth is what connects us all together as human beings.
Definitely. Yes, definitely.
And the more real that you can be and truly be in the experience and express that and be vulnerable enough to get that out is what connects people. They go, me too.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to be real. Somebody once told me that writing a song is like showing everybody your butthole. Because you have to be willing to. I mean, you have to be willing to open up and show everything. Whether you can't be self-conscious. You have to. I mean, what's a butthole? Everybody's got one, and they're all the same. Well, maybe not. But the thing is that you have to. You can't be afraid. You can't hold back. People can tell if you're holding back.
That's right.
People can tell, and they
too scripted, too ready,
too pretentious.
Yes,
Yeah,
and it does. It makes you look pretentious.
Right, and that's one thing that that video doesn't lie with. I mean, there are people that are sociopaths or whatever that can morph into. They can. They're snake charmers. They can. A lot of politicians, But I mean, for the most part, your average layperson, you can't fake it. You know when somebody's trying to fake it. You know when somebody is real, and that's what people want. They want authenticity. They want the connection.
And that's what they're getting, at least with this first album.
right, yeah.
Titled Wildfire. Stay tuned.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming out.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate having this time together.
Absolutely.
I feel like we've been pretty real and pretty authentic.
Yeah.
I know we are.
That's what it's about.
Sitting in the chair with you.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
we might.
what kind of prompted all this.
Yeah.
Right.
And thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
our
your
journey.
life. That's right.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
Our journey together.
Sharing life together.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And friendship and truth and setting things straight.
It's beautiful.
Healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Hands. Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Bo, you're so
It's
good.
magic.
You're so good.
It's just magic.